Hi guys. So, with the James Taylor song, what I'm saying about getting the basics first is basically the basic idea. The essential idea is rather than work on, oh, I've got to get that exact, and then get to that chord, and if we come back to that, and first of all just get the chords and how much time you spend on each one, and have a simple pattern based on what he's using. But we start from that, just getting the chords, spending how long he spends on the chords, so how many bars or beats on each chord, and like I said, a simple pattern based on what he's doing. That's your baseline level, that's your groundwork, and then you can work up from there to including the or whatever the little licks are that he puts in. So like I said, with the intro, I've given you that Jerry's bar thing, and I'll go through the intro in another. I'll just quickly go through it as well in another video where I'll go through the actual licks that he does between the chords. But in this video, it's all about, like I said, the groundwork, the basic stuff. Yeah. So the basic stuff with this hand. Now, James Taylor is either doing finger picking based on a simple Travis picking pattern, which is, your Travis picking. It's either thumb first, thumb second. Now, you know that we've got, hopefully, we've got the cap on the first fret, and I'm doing a D chord here. And so D chord, 4-string chord, and so my thumb is doing the two bass notes, D string and G string, and my first two fingers are assigned to the top two strings, B string, top E string, and I'm going thumb first, thumb second, 1 E and a, 2 E and a. I'm going to count it in 16th notes because that's right, and it's how Jerry does it in the Jerry's bar thing. You see it in his tab and music notation. So the song's in 2/4, and your finger picking is going to be 1 E and a, 2 E and a, so 16th notes because there's 4 of them, 1 E and a to each beat. 1 E and a, 2 E and a, 1 E and a, 2 E and a, 1 E and a, 2 E and a. And with Travis picking, you adjust it to the chord. So when I go to the G, my thumb moves from the root note to one of the other notes in the chord. So in this case, low E string to open D string. And I'm just gonna stick with that simple pattern and play through the chords of the song. The other thing that James Taylor does in terms of this hand, the picking hand, it's getting kind of dark, isn't it? Just turn that up. The other thing that he does, you'll see him do it in live performances, he'll move between picking, and I know that he's doing something more complex than just thumb first, thumb second, but what he is doing is based on that. But the other thing that you'll see him do is this sort of bass strum thing. Well, it is a bass strum style, but instead of a big sort of country where you got the thumb doing the bass and the fingernails of 3 fingers of your first 3 fingers strumming down, and then the thumbnail strumming up. This is a much more gentle thing. It's thumb doing the bass, and then just the first finger extending for a strum and pulling back for a strum. And when you pull back that first finger, allow that joint to be floppy. So if it's rigid, it'll catch. It'll catch on the strings. Whereas if it's got give in it, if you allow it to be relaxed and loose, it won't catch on the strings, and you'll just be able to pull your finger back. Think you're pulling basically from this joint and the knuckle in this joint. A bit of both. If this joint is rigid, it'll catch, or be more likely to catch. Whereas if you allow it to be soft and it's got give in, you shouldn't have any problems with it getting caught. So what he's doing, he's going between this type of bass drum technique and his finger picking. And you can see, hopefully, that it's easier to go between a bass drum technique where you're using just the thumb and finger, it's easier to go from that to a finger picking where you're using thumb and two fingers, rather than the bass drum style as we've done it, which is thumb, like I said, down with the fingernails, up with the thumbnail. Yeah, there's a lot of movement in that, and generally when people are doing this style, they don't move between this and some finger picking. So very typically you'll see this with folk guitarists. They do a softer version of the bass drum style, which is this one, which is thumb, and just the first finger extending the down strum, pulling back for the up strum, 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a... yeah. And it's easier to go between that and finger picking, and that's what James Taylor does in this song, and probably quite a few others. I'm not that familiar with his stuff, but I've seen, lots of folk people do that. So this style is good to get into your repertoire of the bass drum style with thumb and first finger, yeah. And the Travis picking you already know. Now, when we do get on to just sort of preliminary, when we do get on to the actual licks that James Taylor does in his finger picking, when I say it's based on this, I mean, sometimes he is just doing thumb first, thumb second, thumb first, thumb second. But even when he's not doing that, even when he's doing something a bit more complex, it's still based on that. And how he's orienting himself, as in how he's keeping the rhythm, it's the thumb. It's going 1E and a 2E and a 3E. If this was 4/4 time, it would be doing the beats 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And when he's putting in a melody, he's just using his fingers, typically fingers 1 and 2, to pick the strings and frets that he wants that he needs to get the melody that he wants, and the fingers are operating in coordination with the thumb. The thumb's keeping time, and the fingers are either playing notes in between the beat that the thumb's keeping, in which case you will get that thumb finger movement, or on the beat that the thumb's keeping, in which case it'll have to be a pluck. And so a melody will be made up of both notes off the beat and on the beat, so you'll get now, I can't think at the moment of his melodies, but the main point is that this is what you really want to have orient you. You want this in autopilot mode, yeah? Your thumb is just doing this, keeping the beat. And then you could easily start the two fingers just doing a simple Travis picking, or if you think of a melody, I'm thinking of melody with all off the beat, so I'm doing thumb, finger, thumb, finger, thumb, finger. But like I said, the melody will very typically be both notes off the beat and on the beat. But that's a really important point about your technique, your finger picking technique. There's so much, especially in folk music, of course, based on Travis picking, and they've got this basic Travis picking movement, absolutely autopilot, without thinking. thumb, first thumb, second thumb, first thumb, second, or the other way around, thumb, second thumb, first thumb, second thumb, first. But in this song, his patterns seem to be mainly based on thumb, first, thumb, second. So you want to get that without thinking. I mean, to the point of where you don't have to think at all. You know, you can be talking to somebody on the phone, on loudspeaker, and this is going on. You can just keep it going without thinking. And then when you hear a melody, as the fills that he does in his songs, you try and reproduce it. What you do is you try and reproduce it with this on autopilot. So your thumb is going, and you try and put in the melody with the fingers, yeah? So that was a sort of brief tangent into what we're going to be getting into. But I said it here because here I want to sort of look at your groundwork, yeah, the basics that you can always rely on if you forget the actual lick. And the song can still carry on. And also, more than that, how these licks actually evolve. And so that's why I put this bit in there, because the way that he's getting these quite... whatever he does on a B minor chord, I can't remember again. But every single lick that he gets is based on this thing, that his thumb is doing the Travis picking thing, yeah, keeping the beat, and his fingers are either plucking at the same time as the thumb or in between the thumb. Yeah. That's such an important thing to practice, because because every single of these licks that I've heard, not just James Taylor, anyone, it's based on that ability, yeah, to be able to do that. Okay, so, oh gosh, now I've gone up to, okay, 12 minutes. So getting on to the basics, what I'm talking about. I'm going to go through the song. The intro I'll come back to. Oh, one more thing about the James Taylor, the actual recording, the actual song, his guitar is slightly, I can't remember now, it's slightly sharp or slightly flat. I think his is slightly flat, and so he does have a cap on the first fret, but when you do that, if you're in standard tuning, your guitar will sound slightly out with his, because I think we're sharp in relation to him, just slightly sharp, which is a bit of a pain, but not too awful. Now, let's see. So, let's say we've done the intro, because we're going to come back to that. But we know the chords of the intro, yeah? Like I said, look at the chords above the tab and the standard notation. You got... Actually, I'll come back to that, because I can't remember. But you got D, G, an A7, sus4, and an A7, yeah? And my point there is, even if you just strummed it, it would give people some idea of, it would sound pretty much like the song, because the basics where he's getting this line is from these chords. Do, D, G, A sus4, going to A7. Okay, but we'll come back to that. So, this is the verse. Well, the sun is shining, sun is surely sinking down. No, I won't remember the words, because I never do. But I'm going to try and sort of hum the melody and show you the time on each chord, how much time you spend on it. So remember, it's in 2/4, and I'm going to be counting 1E and a 2E and a, and I'm just going to be doing this simple Travis picking all the way through, yeah, at first. That's my first level. So I've got, well, the sun is shining, sinking down. So I've got 1E and a 2E and a 1E and a 2E and a 1E and a 2E and a 1E and a 2E and a... Now there at the end I was going between A and A sus2, yeah, open B string, because that's one of the prominent licks that he does. But you saw that I had And that'll do for now, yeah? You get the chords, you get used to this basic picking pattern on those chords and the timing, which is, that is like how long you spend on each chord. So, well, the 1E and a 2E and a 1E and a 2E and a 1E and a 2E and a 1E and a 2E and a... So that was 1 bar of 2/4 on D, 1 bar of 2/4 on G and D, so that was a beat each, and then 2 bars on A, and including the A sus, yeah, and that gives you the first lyric line. Well, the sun is surely sinking down, yeah. Well, the sun is surely sinking down, but the light. So let's go to the second line. Do, 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 do. Let's get the chords and that. You can see the chords, but the moon is slowly rising, and we've got E minor, B minor, A, G, and then E minor, which I'm going to play as E minor 7, my little finger on the 3rd fret, B string, and then going to A7 sus 4. All I need to do is just move the 2nd finger from the 2nd fret A string to the 2nd fret D string. So timing wise, 1E and a 2E and a 1E and a 2E and a 1E and a 2E and a 1E and a 2E and a... You see with that G, I just played it with, I think I did, with just the 3rd finger on the low E string, and I couldn't help putting that in because, again, it's one of the sort of prominent things that he does in his licks in between his vocal lines. And all that is 1st finger on the 1st fret of the B string to give you a G sus 4 going back to a G. Yeah. Timing wise, we had 1E and a 2E and a 1E and a 2E and a 1E and a 2E and a 1E and a 2E and a... So that's 1 bar on E minor and B minor, 1E and a 2E and a, 1 bar on A and G, 1E and a 2E and a, another bar on G, 1E and a 2E and a. And if you don't feel comfortable putting in the embellishments yet, like that sus 4 there, don't, just play G. And then we've got the E minor, 1E and a 2E and the A7 sus 4. So like I said, I'm playing the E minor as an E minor 7 with my little finger, 3rd fret, the B string. And as you saw, 1 beat on each, 1E and 2E and so 1 bar of 2/4 on those. Okay, the next line, so this old world must still be spinning around, is exactly the same as the first line. Yeah, so you've got 1E and a 2E and a 1E and a 2E and a 1E and a 2E and a 1E and a 2E and a, yeah. And again, if you don't feel comfortable putting in the A sus yet, don't, just play A. So we had bar of D, 1E and a 2E and a, bar of G and D, 1E and a 2E and a bar of A, 1E and a 2E and then another bar of A or A sus 2, going between A sus 2 and A. So that was the 3rd line, which is exactly the same as the first line. And then the last line, I still love you. You can see E minor, B minor, A and D over the lyrics. And as I just did then, you've got a beat on each. So you've got 1E and a 2E and a 1E and a 2E and a, yeah. So a bar of E minor and B minor, a bar of A and D, and then the same timing for the next lot. Then you've got G, D, A, D. I know it says D/E or D over E. Don't worry about that, just play D. And the timing is the same as what you just did. Each chord has a beat. So 1E and a 2E and a 1E and a 2E and a. So that last line, 1E and a 2E and a 1E and a 2E and a 1E and a 2E and a 1E and a 2E and a. And then he immediately starts singing "So close your eyes," and I can't remember the melody of the chorus. And in fact, I'll stop there anyway because I think the video's going on a bit. Good Lord, yes, we're at 20 minutes. So let me just play through the verse. Like I said, I'll try and hum the melody so that you get a sense of where we are. But I'll be counting how many beats on each chord, yeah? So, well, the 1E and a 2E and a 1E and a 2E and a 1E and a 2E and a 1E and a 2E and 1E and a 2E and a 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 1E and a 2E and 1E and a 2E and a 1E and a 2E and a. So close your, and then that's where the melody line for the chorus starts. So close, but I've completely forgotten the melody, so I will do it in a separate video. But that's okay. I hope this idea is okay of just approaching a song like this, getting the basics. I really think almost pretty much everybody I taught, except one woman who grew up learning violin with the Suzuki method. I don't know if that had anything to do with it, but I thought that it did. She wanted to know exactly what to play at exactly what point. Oh, didn't Neil Young play just that note there? And the idea that he does it differently in each performance. Yes, he's got a basis for the song. That is, he's got the chords, and you spend so long in each chords, but he plays it slightly differently each time. And that's the basic principle that I'm doing here. And most people get on with that better, so hopefully that's all right. Okay, so the next video will be the chorus, tackling the chorus in the same way as I just did here for the verse. Okay, bye.